Good afternoon, my fellow Americans. Provided nothing has changed, I'm still Meredith Graves of MTV News, and I'm sitting here with an unbelievable legend. This is Mr. Krist Novoselic. Hi.
Hi, Meredith.
Thank you for joining us today. For anyone watching at home who somehow may not know the depth and breadth of what you've accomplished in your life, this man was not only one of the founding members of a little-known early 90s band called Nirvana, more importantly, you were at one point the bassist for Flipper.
That's it.
That's it? We're done. We're just here to talk about Sex Bomb.
Sex Bomb, baby, yeah.
Yeah. Mr. Novoselic, what does it mean when people don't vote?
I think if you gotta vote because you gotta make your voice heard, and it's just part of civic participation. I'm voting for Gary Johnson.
Why?
Because he's actually a moderate, and so he would really shake up things in Washington, D.C., that polarization. So he'd be right in the center of that. You know, we had this bad economy in 2008, and there was a stimulus, there was a bailout, there was all those things, and then we're like $19 trillion, over $19 trillion in debt.
Imaginary number.
It's a real number. Now's the time that we can have fiscal discipline in the United States. I've been traveling around the country, and everywhere I go, there's cranes, there's construction, people are working, the restaurants are full. The economy's good. I don't know what the hell Donald Trump is talking about. I saw him on the news, he was speaking, and he was just painting this picture of doom and gloom in America. But then on the network news, there's that like stock ticker underneath, and there's all these like stocks, and everything's green arrow, plus, 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 plus. The economy is really good now. Things sucked in 2010. That was a bad time. A lot of people didn't make it financially. A lot of business
saying the
closes.
stock market is up, saying like the Powerball total's really high?
I don't know what stock market. Actually, that's out of my league. I'm not, you know.
The stock market
I buy
is
bonds.
hypothetical. Yeah, it's as hypothetical as Bitcoin.
Yeah,
really.
it's right. Yeah, I mean, but
It's a speculator's market.
yeah, but if you go out and you look in the street, I was in where the heck was I?
Because if you go out and look at the street here, you see hungry people and homeless people.
Yeah, and you see.
Yeah.
I've always seen that in New York, and that's terrible. And there's programs for that, and I think we should spend money on helping people.
But when you talk about electing Gary Johnson specifically, where do you put the line of helping people? Because when you talk about, we have all these cranes, we have to be fiscally responsible, we're building all this stuff. There's only going to be more people if we revoke Americans' reproductive rights. And Gary Johnson wants to abolish Roe v. Wade. That can be an inroad for every evil person.
I don't agree with that. I don't think so.
He does. He believes it's an issue of individual states' rights. He is pro-choice but anti-Roe v. Wade, very specifically.
Oh, that's like this ideological thing. The thing with Gary Johnson is like, there's these checks and balances. He has to work with the U.S. House. He has to work with the United States Senate.
But those are the people who have been colluding for decades to end reproductive health care. And that's why there are 9 abortion clinics in Texas.
Republicans are never gonna repeal Roe v. Wade.
Why do you think that?
Because they'd lose that issue. That's the thing that they keep roping the same people in. They're saying, hey, I'm pro-life, I'm pro-guns, and if you vote for this dude over here, he's against that. And then you have this core of voters saying, "Oh yeah, I don't want," you know, it's a ruse, is what it is. It's what it is. It's a strategic initiative by the party. We'll just tell them we're anti-choice.
Well, were it only a strategic initiative, it would be one thing, but there's been a mass closing of abortion providers in conservative states.
Yeah.
We have actual practical ground-level
hard.
issues with women dying because of complicated and
it's
failed
hard.
pregnancies, and Gary Johnson believes it's a separate issue.
I think he looks through it through the lens of libertarianism, you know? And so there's this whole federal kind of, the whole federal argument of states. And
but if federalism is the lens, patriarchy is the eyeballs in this instance.
Yeah.
So
I'm solid pro-choice.
growing up anywhere near Olympia,
yeah, I'm
you
solid
probably
pro-choice.
end up being pretty freaking pro-choice. And you're working in voting reform, I've heard.
Yeah, I do. I'm the chair of Fair Vote, the Center for Voting and Democracy. So one of the things that we promote is ranked choice voting, so we can give voters more power, because we agree things are way out of balance.
Now, ranked choice voting isn't something we have in place right now, is it?
We do. There's 2.4 million Americans vote with ranked choice voting
What does
in
that
10
mean?
cities. Well, you get a ballot, and so say you have 5 candidates on the ballot. Then you get a first choice, a second choice, and a third choice.
So you're literally ranking the
You're
candidates.
ranking the candidates and say, I love her.
Oh, so it's not like who's the most rank, because that would be pretty obvious.
No.
Okay.
It's just kind of your first choice. So I really love her. I'm voting for her. And then like, well, he's okay. I can live with him. So I'll put him as my second choice. And the third choice, like, no way, I'm not going to vote for him. Okay? And so then they count the ballots, and a candidate who gets the most choices, first choices, if they get a majority, 50% plus 1 vote, they win the election. They won a majority of the vote. But if there's no majority, then the last place candidate, who's probably on the far right or the far left, gets eliminated, and their second or third choices, which are probably more moderate candidates, they get added to the remaining candidates. And that adds up for who's left in the race. And if somebody gets a majority, then they win.
This is a convoluted system.
It is not a convoluted system, Meredith. I mean, explain to me how gerrymandering works and redistricting works. And we're all subject to it. And so we get stuck, like you're a Democrat and you get stuck in this Republican district, or you're a Democrat and you get stuck in an urban district where there's like packed full of Democrats. You're just like wasting your vote. It's a really complicated system. Or you vote in California, there's like 2 Democrats running for United States Senate, and there's not really much of a difference between the two. Okay, so all election systems are complicated.
For the people watching at home, if they were first-time voters and they needed to care about a couple of the issues that you thought were the most important, what would those be?
There's 3 things. There's a debt, $19 trillion in debt that we're saddling young people with. The debt service is going to be so expensive in the future, it's going to be a federal program in itself. Okay, it's going to be a program like Social Security or Medicare. It's going to be like an entitlement, and just how are we going to pay this debt off? And I hope they don't plan on inflating our way out of it, because inflation is bad. There's climate change. I support revenue neutral carbon tax, I-7732 in Washington State. So we need to address climate change.
Is it like a carbon buyback?
Yeah, it's a revenue neutral. And then finally, election reform. We need ranked choice voting, proportional representation, national popular vote. So the 3 things, if you have to ask your candidates, are what are you going to do about the debt? What are you going to do about climate change? And what are you going to do about political reform? And don't let them off the hook. Those are the 3 questions we need to ask people.
Last question, and then I will let you go. Trump wins. What do you do?
Just get out of bed and start my day. I mean, that's just the way, we still have the U.S. House, we have the Senate, these checks and balances, and
We have our neighbors.
we have our neighbors. It's like political science, it's a soft science. And so there's all these unintended consequences. So like, wow, you think that people who are predicting doomsday, or they have this great idea that's going to change everything. It's just like, well, there's always, it doesn't really pan out that way. So
At the end of the day, it's people.
It's
just
It's
people.
people. And ranked choice voting, proportional voting, it's proven. It's not going to cure all our problems, but it's going to give us more power as voters, give us more choices. We get to hear more voices. That's proven, Taking money out of politics, well, there's other things we can do, and I mentioned that earlier, but
Whatever makes things more equal.
that's it.
Mr. Novoselic, thank you for
Thanks,
joining
Meredith.
us today. Thank you guys for watching. We'll see you very soon.